In the boardrooms across the world, a quiet tension is building up. AI is no longer a futuristic slide in the strategy deck. It is rewriting decisions, talent, trust in real time. Some leaders are sprinting ahead, others are frozen between fear and FOMO, and entire organizations are watching to see, do I still trust people leading this AI future? In this transition of technology alone, it's not a differentiator. The real advantage belongs to leaders who build high trust culture where AI becomes force multiplier, not a threat. This is where coaching style leadership, strategic clarity, and growth focused thinking coverage converge. And that's exactly the conversation we are having about today. At the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, strategy, growth through an executive lens. Before we dive into the topic, let's have a small video about power of knowing. Our guest today, Ashu Thangaraj, has led complex software engineering organizations, sat at the governance tables as an IICA certified independent director, and coaching leaders navigating high stake digital and AI transformation. Work sits precisely at the intersection of technology, execution, and human leadership, helping leaders turn AI, a buzzword, into trusted enabler of performance and growth. Let's welcome Ashu Thangaraj to our podcast and let's discuss on the topic. Ma'am, welcome to our show, madam. Good evening.
Good evening, Prem. Thanks for having me over here.
Happy New Year, madam.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
This is
Happy
the
New Year to all
first
you.
podcast that we are doing for this year, and we have the honor of having you on the podcast today. And great to have you here, ma'am.
Excited. Happy New Year to all our viewers. And I didn't know I'm the first speaker in this year. So, yeah, glad to be here. And hopefully, 2026 is bright and looks bright for all of us.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, to start with, what would you say high trust AI era? What does that practically mean for today's CXOs and their leadership teams, ma'am?
So, Prem, I think you touched on a very sensitive, right? So, AI has become a buzzword, right? And if you look at like AI, what was there last year to what where AI is today, AI was in talks last year, but today AI is in execution, right? And while I'm talking, there are still 40% of enterprises who are still thinking how to go about AI, right? So not everybody has adopted AI, right? And I think one of the biggest thing is the trust, right? Um, I would say AI is the next disruptor, right? Or it's already disrupting how we work. Now, where it's bringing a cultural shift, if I have to say, right? You're automating a lot of things. You're having models, you're having data, and the context that you give, right? Now, if you just give blindly, there's a lot of biases, there's a lot of governance things comes into picture, which causes trust issues, right? So I think there's a cultural shift that needs to come in as to what we consume through this AI is gone through compliances, gone through checks and balances, gone through some of the ethical practices, right? So I would say it's not about, I think we have the capability, but it's about how do we get confidence in those AI system, right? If you look at today, all the open source AI models that you have, that they give you basic engine, basic contextual data. But when you use it for your own organization or for your own enterprise, that's when the context comes into picture. And the moment you put your context, then it becomes how do you make sure that context goes through all these series of compliances, removing the biases, removing the making sure the data is proper, making sure the correlation is proper, false negatives, right? So you need to take care of all that. And the more cleaner we do this is how quickly the confidence comes into the users, right? And as the confidence builds in, the trust starts building in, right? So I would say, like, AI will not become a household name until and unless the trust is built in these AI systems. And when I say that these AI system is a combination of multiple things, right? So you have the AI algorithms, you have the data that you're feeding into it, and then you're saying that, okay, what do you do meaning, right? And I think all these needs to be correlated properly when you are building this AI systems. And that is very, very crucial. So I would say, like, the trust is essential. Without trust, no one is going to use AI, right? And I think one of the things why it took about a year also to get into execution mode, and why I'm saying 40% of the enterprises still don't use AI in their execution, is because of the trust factor, right? Now, much of the automation, if you look at go back to history and see, we started using calculator, the first form of automation, right? Initially when we started doing it was, yeah, 80% time it was okay, then 20%. Internet came, there was a lot of information, right? And then some of the information was not okay, so as you refine it, as you tune it, and as it starts going into the perfection, that's where the trust builds in, right? So I would say, like, it's essential, but then there has to be a proactive approach to this, right? You cannot build trust just like that into the AI systems. It has to be built through multiple channels, right? Like the biases being removed, the data being sanitized, the correlation being done properly, and then giving the final output, right? So, so I think there are, how we do the algorithms, the data. I think leaders needs to make sure that we follow all these steps, right? It's just not another automation, right? And I think that's where the whole difference becomes. The second thing I would say is, like, in the high trust AI era, we've been in the industry for long, and at some point we think that, okay, we know everything, but no, AI, we are beginners. As I speak, there's a lot to learn. Okay?
Yeah.
Every day I'm learning. So I think while we think as leaders that, okay, we just know this is another new thing and we just go and implement it, it doesn't happen that way. I think as leaders, we need to have our curiosity epic, right? Like on the spot and say that, okay, what is it? What am I going to do with this? How is it going to help, right? Because AI also comes with cost. You
Yeah.
really see the cost um, ROI benefits as well before we go into the whole, um, and the reason why I'm saying is we did a bit of an experiment where we were able to save productivity improvements on this SDLC, but then as we started using the uh, AI, the number of calls that we were making to the AI models, that cost shot up. So I think we need to start optimizing it. So one is like, how do you get the trust is basically giving you the exact answer as you get, right? So which means that you need to do a lot of steps to sanitize everything. And the second is like, it should also meet your cost thing, right? So I think both go hand in hand, and I think it's not a one step thing. All the organization, at least, I mean, I know the various groups that we work in, it is going through iteration, right? And through the iteration, trust gets definitely built up, right? You start trusting it more. Yeah.
One was when you said trust is the first point. The second is costs. And we've seen this in all the industries, if you see, whether it is banking, whether it is IT. First, when they were in the in-prem thing, they said we cannot have servers. There were small desktops in each of the rooms, right, in the offices. Then they said, let's bring up all these to a centralized area where we get into data centers. The costs changed. Then again, we went into search engine optimization. Cloud started bringing up. Everything is service. Emailing was an exchange in the system. Now we don't have emailing in the exchange or
Yeah.
anything. Everything is a SaaS based thing today. We don't have anything as in-prem mailing system is gone completely. So you're saying exactly that's the same shift that is going to happen. Even when we look at the cloud optimization, we looked at cost. How do we look at now? We're talking about AI, and you're saying we are going to see bottlenecks, we are going to see some of the challenges, but as you refine, the trust builds, and the costs and all those things also will get streamlined, right? I completely get that point. Now, if I had to define a boardroom ready one line definition for high trust leadership, what would it be, man?
I would say proactive culture building,
Okay.
right? Because I think this whole thing starts from boardroom,
Hmm.
right? How do you do a proactive strategy, right? Um, Going back to your previous thing, right? So AI is there, from long time,
Yeah.
but AI was not prevalent because the processing, CPU cost used to be huge.
Huge.
Today, the cost of CPUs have come down, which means we could deal with so much of a data, right? We could deal with like petabytes or maybe millions of petabytes of data. So I think that's the enabler for AI. Now the next challenge is how do we make it neat and clean, right? When I say neat and clean, it should be trustworthy, right? The the same data in different context means different thing. So how do you put the same, data and contextual knowledge together, have that correlation, remove the biases, sanitize it, and then get it properly, right? So I would say we are in that cusp where this whole process is getting defined, and people are experimenting with it, right? While I speak three, four things, there could be multiple other things, right? Now, from a boardroom perspective, right, I think everyone has to start wearing a learner's hat. Right? So how is it going to help my business? Right? AI is buzzword, but buzzword doesn't help business, right? How is it going to help the business, right? I'm being in, I'm in cybersecurity and we deal with a lot of data, right? So there's no way we could not do things without AI, right? So AI is kind of ingrained. Having said that, that's not the case with other domains, right? So from a boardroom, it's about like put a learner's hat and see, is this implementing AI is going to help me or not, right? And if you think it is going to help me, then in what ways? And that's the place where I think the board leaders need to really brainstorm, think that where do I want to take my business, and is AI going to accelerate that? And if the answer to that is yes, go down to the next details, right? Go down to the next details and say, okay, it's going to help. Now let's figure out how do we want to do it, right? And I think the first thing that starts with the culture, right? One thing I think, I'm pretty proud that in my organization, we have started with the AI first strategy, right? In everything that we do, we put AI first, right? How we can do. And it's a very deliberate, push from board to every level saying that, yes, we can do, but then evaluate. Is AI going to do it better? Is this because within the AI system as well, there are tons of thousands and thousands of models which has come, right? There's so many data sets that has come, right? Especially in cybersecurity, like we have got like so many phishing data set, so many malware data set, right? So which is being exploited not just by hackers but also by the persons who are building those products, right?
True. True.
So I think it's really about taking it to the next level, saying that which is the LLMs that you're going to, what is the data set that you're going to do? And enterprise has got a lot of data. The data sets that you have available on open source is very base. right? So you cannot run your business processes on those open source data, right? You need to have your own data, put it, sanitize it, and then put, right? Now, there are companies who are, recently Cisco released its own cybersecurity um, data set, right? And LLM as well, right? And but that doesn't serve all the purpose. So we have to put our own data, right? So I think the next question is, how do you want to really implement it in your organization, right? And then do some POCs. Only when the POCs, I think proves to be promising, then go for it. And I'll give you some examples, right? So, one of the POCs we did was really just about designing certain architectures, right? And uh, the first two POCs gave us some learning, but were not the full proof.
Hmm.
And then when we evaluated different model, and finally arrived after four iteration to model that we wanted to use, right? And similarly on the project planning, so we said, okay, fine, it does all the development work and all, but then let's look at how do we, as leaders, how can we reduce some of our work, right? So I would say, like, it's not just technology, but there are a lot of other things that also we can use, but then we need to ratify that. And I think the whole principle of try it out, fail fast, learn, right? I think that's the model we have adopted, right? And it's working. I would not say it's not working. It's working for us.
I think what the message I am trying to get is, you remember those silver image, bronze image, gold image of the OSs that were there when they installed Windows 10, or they had that images built, and every laptop used to have a customized image, right? So
Yes.
I think what we are seeing going forward is everybody is releasing their own LLMs, their own data sets, their own. Now, how do you customize and use it to your model is going to be the next thing that I see.
Exactly.
So I think what you're saying is that's the future that we can see, everything getting customized based on the tune that you want to bring up something for the organization. And also look at, as you rightly said, instant management or response to instant management.
Yeah.
Then you look at ransomware also. If one set is giving you hundreds of data sets, you can get another hundreds of data sets from another model,
Exactly.
right? So I
Exactly.
think that's what we are. How how do you differentiate between technology trust algorithm data and human trust leaders culture in AI-led organizations?
Okay. So I don't think we are at a stage where we are 100% trusting, right? And we always have human in the loop. And
Yeah,
I'll give you one example. We do threat researching quite a bit, and while they are like different, we use some eight models, to predict the false positive, false negative. But after these eight models, there are different levels of tools that we use, AI tools, to figure out what it is. But finally, there is one person who goes and does the final
yeah,
validation, right? And and I think that's needed, primarily because with so many new things coming out today, even if you sanitize all your thing, there could be some new data which is popped up, or there could be some new thing, engine could have popped up, which has actually violated your rules and engine,
yeah.
and would have come up, right?
Hmm.
So the rate of things that, the rate at which new malwares or new ransomware or new, infections are coming into the system, you would have probably, even if you do on a daily basis, I'm saying second by second things are changing. So that's that, you know edge that you probably want to make sure that that doesn't get messed up. And that's where the human in the loop comes into picture, right? So I'm giving an example from cybersecurity because I'm doing, my work is mostly on the cybersecurity, but this can be taken into some other context also, and say that, okay, business workflows happens like this. Now you could probably avoid human context in some cases where the probability is 0.0000999%, and it's like pretty much, then your AI can do almost everything for you, right? But I think that given the nature of how we are doing things and how data is available in the internet, I think having a human loop is the final proof point saying that, okay, fine, I'm giveaway, right?
Now, I think what you're saying, AI does not fail because of the code, and it
It
fails
doesn't
because
fail because of the code.
that
It became,
trust, right? And that leaders using it. So that's the crux. I think that's where we are seeing. And
yeah.
now coming to the point of the demo, what are the biggest mindset shifts leaders must make to move from command and control to a coaching style? Because today we have so many things and we are not talking about coaching style in AI driven organizations. Your take on it, man?
So I think, if you look at traditional way of doing, even software development, right, or any other business, right, there's always been a kind of a layered structure where the command flows, uh, up, top, down. But I think in today's world, and I think without AI also, this is quite was there in the things where the strategy gets down, but then it gets percolated, but then it's not like, okay, you need to do this. It's like, this is what we are thinking, how do you want to do about it, right? And it's about like, okay, you leave the give the freedom to your next level leaders to do that. So I think it's a very, very different era in IAI because every day is a new learning, right? And practically no one can give a complete solution. Howsoever whosoever is a full knowledgeable person also, or how I think it's a everyday learning, and I think that's the so I don't know if you know or you've heard about this whole growth mindset thing.
Yeah, yeah.
We are actually living in a growth mindset era, right? We cannot live in so every day new things are happening and our mind needs to process that. So I think the biggest thing is the culture. How do you want to create the culture with the leaders saying that it's no longer a VUCA world. It's a
Hmm.
world where it's like every instant, every time there's a change going on. And how do you adapt to that and how do you learn from it, make next one better? Right. So I think that's the biggest culture shift that I see. And to do that, I think as leaders, we need to coach, not just, I would say, start from ourselves, right? Put ourselves also into that situation and say that, okay, what am I doing right? What am I
Yeah.
not doing right? Take it to the next set of leaders and saying, okay, coach them. And I think the biggest thing over here is curiosity, right? And coaching deals with a lot of questioning, but I think I go one step beyond that. How do you, the art of asking questions also, right? How do you want to like question so that it spikes curiosity in the other leaders as well, and they do the same, right? So I think that is the biggest shift because everybody is learning in this whole AI era. It's not just the model learning; it is humans also learning.
No, I was talking to someone and they were saying, see, you had ISMS, right? And now you don't have something called, now you have AIMS, right? So, which is your AIMS 42,000. But now, when you had ISMS, they were fixed for a period of time. Now, how do you look at AIMS? Because that was a piece that was taken from ISMS to AIMS, and there are certain structures which are kept the same so that AI is also considered. Now, keeping the rapid changes that are happening with AI, how does the AIMS also evolve? So that was a question that somebody asked me in one of the sessions. So I said today whatever changes, I think the AIMS also will bring up a structure saying that this is the new change which has come. This is where embodying. So we have tested this, and this is the new thing coming in.
Yeah,
I think
and
that's
I think I think Prem, to supplement what you're saying, there'll be cues coming in which would give us
yeah.
things that, okay, these are the things which is changing, this is not changing, right? And I think slowly as we refine the system, the cues will become very visible to us, right? So I think we are not an expert kind of a thing right now where we say that, okay, we understand all the AI system, we understand all the data, right? But there would be a time where there would be certain cues where we could, and that is not far off, 6 to 8 months down the line, and okay, what is it that we are looking for? And I think as we are doing this coaching to the leaders, I think it's important for each one of us and our leaders to start looking out for these cues,
Hmm.
right? This is going to be mainstay. AI is here to stay. And I think the earlier we figure out how do we make AI work for us, right? AI work for the business. I think it's going to be beneficial for everyone.
No, I was saying when we started also we said is it is not a slide today, right? It is a strategic decision today when we talk about AI, and everybody wants to see how do they cut down the productivity that is not required at a place where there are repetitive jobs. So I think that's the first point that we spoke about. And now we were talking on some of the incident and responses. Now you have so many false positives coming in because of the adoption of cloud, and it is spread across globe. Earlier it was one region. I think one SOC analyst or anybody looks at so many things coming and he used to give a number. Now the number is so big that you cannot humanly do any that kind of a research, and that's where I think these tools are
Yes.
helping us
Oh,
right now.
yes.
Sorry. Now
So
most of the
tools
time,
are there to help, right, Prem?
yeah.
But then all the tools have, some percentage of accuracy. I think that's where we need to, like, have people get a foolproof thing, right? Yeah.
From a legacy standpoint, what we were seeing is it's always a blocker for a new adoption, right? So that's where the whole structure changes, right? Now, which legacy behaviors do you see most often blocking AI enabled teams, especially among those other successful leaders, senior leaders? Any thought around it, man?
So there are a couple of things, and I think one of the things which I see legacy, and this is something, it's a very, very small thing, but then, it goes back to a lot on the mindset. Is, we've been doing this for so long, so why do I need to change today? And I hear this in a lot of meetings. In fact, today afternoon, I was in one of the meeting and, they said, we've been successful doing this for 20 years. So why do I need to change today?
Hmm. Yeah.
Right. And I think these are certain behaviors, right? Uh, so the moment you hear, a bell rings, right? This is something that's not going to help. Right. And so, we used to do it like this and you used to work like this. Yes, you used, I'll tell you, like, even, I do a lot of leadership training within my group. The training that we did last year does not work for this year.
Oh,
A very
yeah.
simple thing, right? Just because the way we are doing things, the way the whole environment has changed, the kind of uh, Gen Zs have come into the mix. It's a very different leadership style that you need, right? And while we talk about curiosity and growth mindset, people need to be comfortable with this change, right? And just bringing that confidence in, okay, change is okay, and if you don't do, it's like you're going to perish,
Yeah.
right? Um, and I think that's a very subtle message. While building the culture, we need to build in with the leaders that change is constant. This change is coming at a high accelerated speed
True.
and high change, right? So changes have always been there, and most of the people have gone through change, but not at this rate and at this speed,
Speed.
right? And I think that is where we need to coach leaders to be okay with it, to be acceptable about the whole speed and the rate, and then to look at how they can benefit from it,
Hmm.
right? What is in it for them as leaders? What is in it from them? And I think that's why we need to, like, coach people to ask those questions. How can I benefit from it, right? But then I would still say that, just because everybody is using it, don't go and use it.
Hmm.
See what is the benefit in it, right? And I think that culture creation becomes very, very key to this whole part. That, is it going to be meaningful for me? Is it going to be useful for me? Is it going to help in my ROI? Then
Hmm.
use it. Not just because the company has told, okay, we want to use AI, so use, right? A lot of companies are doing that.
Yeah.
20% of the time, you use your 20% of headcount has to work on,
Hmm.
this 30% has to work on AI. So I will cut 30% over here, right? But
Hmm.
that doesn't work. That doesn't work,
Agreed. Agreed.
right? Right? Yeah.
Now, what is one behavior a leader should stop tomorrow morning if they have to build the high trust culture, AI culture at least? So, what could be some of the leaders who should stop something.
So I think one of the things that I think leaders should stop. A lot of leaders, the day they start the thing, the weekend to do list and to do kind of a thing, and then
Yeah.
saying, okay, monitoring. And I think it's not the age of monitoring now, right? While you want to do, you don't want to focus totally on that, right?
Yeah.
Because I think we really want to make sure that we are learning from our monitoring, right? So a lot of earlier people, leaders used to monitor and put a checkpoint saying, this is this one. I want to stop that. Okay.
Mm.
What's the learning that I'm getting? What's the learning there? So I want to change that narrative, right? Okay, this is not working, go fix it. No, it's not about fixing it. What is my learning and how do I use learning in the next iteration? Right. So I think that's very important because it's not a right or a wrong answer in today's world, right? It's not Boolean. Whether we like it or not, we are in technology and all is about Boolean 0 and 1. But when you come to some of these kind of strategies, I think it's not 0 and 1. It's about continuous learning. It's about saying that, okay, today what have I learned? How am I going to be different? How am I going to make more impact? Right? Rather than just saying that, okay, my deliveries are happening, I'm on the road, my part times have gone through, I'm good. No, not that, right? Get on to like, how can I make an impact? How can I make a difference? How can I make things, different in the whole, for my business, for the organization, for the, you know, community as such? And the answer is yes, go do it. Right.
I was talking to one of the speakers, Lakshmi. So she was telling today what is happening is, you said Gen Z and stuff. They don't. The culture today is that they don't want to be monitored, right? So
No one
how do
wants to
you
be.
manage? How do you manage multiple age groups? One is at the senior level, one is in the mid, and you have these Gen Zs. They are part of one team. So it was very interesting that she was saying that their perspectives are very different when you talk to the Gen Z guy. The middleman management guy thinks some traditional, but he has some idea on how this guy is speaking. But the senior members, as they go, they don't want change, so they are reluctant in saying. So, how do you get different perspectives? Is what Lakshmi Triya was saying in how to build multi-generational teams is what we spoke on one of the topic. It gave us a lot of insights where we said you need to have that kind of a discussion at that kind of a team to think differently, because each has their own ways of thinking, and they have a lot of options for us to experiment also, right?
Oh,
Now
yes.
that is one thing that she was saying. And also leaders at times are approving every decision, hoarding information is there, and sometimes a surveillance rather than empowerment. So that's one way of looking at also is happening, is what we were discussing. So I
So
don't know how is it
I,
related. So when you said Gen Z's, I thought I'll bring this pointer there.
No, absolutely. And I think, you know, the key motivators for each of these groups were different, right? And as leaders, we need to understand this whole
Yeah.
thing, right? Like Gen Zs are in a very different mode. The kind of
Yeah.
information they have, the kind of things that they come up with is very, very different from what, the seniors in the team would be, right? So their endpoint motivators are very different. And I think as leaders, we need to understand that and pivot them in the direction that, we want to take. And today's, I think Gen Z have, they require more autonomous way of working than the senior, more, very rightly said, no one likes micromanagement today. Okay. To that extent, if you give a goal and say, okay, this is what needs to be done, they figure out, Gen Z's figure out, right? Whereas, some of the seniors, you still need, okay, is this right, is that wrong, they still have that. And I think that is where the leaders need to, encourage them again through coaching,
Yeah.
right? Because there's no way of dictating. You have to coach your even senior members that, times are changing, things are different now, right? And I would, I run a mentoring cohort, and I think we are into the sixth cohort. And one of the mentors came back and told me that it's reverse mentoring happening to me, because the kind of curiosity and the kind of question the Gen Z folks asked me opened my eyes that, okay, this is how, this is the view of, the new generation. And I think that's very important because at the end of the day, This is also important. Expertise is also important, and the new thinking is also important. And as leaders, our job is to combine both of them, right? Make sure, because these are the things which is getting into the models, right? If you look at the data sets, you're looking at the algorithm. These are the thinking that is getting into the algorithm. So we need both the perspectives. And as leaders, I think we need to nurture them, but then at the same time, give direction to both of them, saying, okay, this is the direction that we want to move forward. So I think all of us are dealing with this multi-generational workforce at this point of time. Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Alpha, all kind of things have come up. But I think we as leaders, also work as kind of a translator for some of the things that we need to do through our folks, right? And make sure that we are in the right direction. Sometimes, yes, some of the pointers are here and there, but I think together as a team, right, we go into the right direction.
I used to tell most of my reportees when I was part of Wipro. I used to saying that, have you seen a 286 machine? Most of them will say no.
No.
Right now, today, I ask my team, have you seen a server? That's the situation we are today. Because we don't see the server itself. We are connected on a KVM or on
Yes.
to VPN, and then we access the server. We don't know what is the. We only know this is the compute. This is the memory that is being used. This is the storage I have. This is what is consumed. That's what we know. We don't even, none of the, I think the sysadmins have seen the servers physically today. That's the stage that they are in, and that coaching is what I think what you're saying is very very important, to bring that mentoring to be done in such a way that they understand this technology has gone a long way and the changes are very
Yes.
very drastic, which is happening very fast. But what we have seen in last 20 years is happening in 2 years now, right? So
And I think the rate is going to go,
fast.
exponentially high, right? Exponentially high. So
How
yes.
do you coach engineering and product leaders to balance speed? We are speaking about speed, right? Experimentation and responsible AI in the real delivery environments. Because at times we cannot also keep experimenting. You need to deliver something as well. So, what's your take on that, man?
So I think there is, you know, responsible AI is a big thing, right? And typically, when you talk about responsible AI, we're really talking about 99.995 kind of an accuracy. Okay. And we used to call in cloud, 91.5,
SLA part.
99 SLA, right? Having said that, one of the pitfalls of that with respect to speed I saw as, to achieve that 99.99 took a long time and multiple iterations, multiple models to do. And I think to me, speed is important, but you don't want to do it totally out of the delivery view because then someone else comes into the market. Having said that, I think the risks that you're willing to take, and why I'm saying this is because it's, for any releases with or without AI, there's always been a risk, right? With which you go to the market. Now, without AI, the risks were clearly defined, right? And you know exactly this is what I'm going to, end up with if I release these two, three defects or, those kind of things. Um, in AI world, if you are not effective to the pure of to the tune of 99.99, you probably don't know what's the impact. Okay. And that's where the risk taking comes in because you can't go on and on and on. And I'll tell you, like we had this whole uh, threat modeling engine, which we ran through like multiple models, went on for 2 years and we didn't release it. Right, because one model gave 95, one gave 96.7, another gave, and everyone was brainstorming. And we said, until unless we release it, our efficacy will keep going down. Right. So I think it's that moment of risk. And this is where leadership comes in because your systems are there, your data is there, everything is there. Right. Um, Your stakeholders are demanding, your customers are demanding for it, right? So I would say that's the moment that you need to take that risk, saying that, okay, I'm okay with 97, and we will keep evaluate, refining it. And so while speed is important, I think we want to balance, like, what is the amount of risk that we are willing to take. So I think as leaders, what's the risk capability or risk capacity of the organization, and take decision based on that, right? No point in going on and on. I would say, like, it really hurt. It
Yeah,
hurt us quite a bit. So no point in getting to the picture perfect. There's no perfect thing today, right? Um, so I would say, like, you think, and this was something that Microsoft always used to say, right? Like, the moment the software is in some form of a stable thing, ship it, right? And then you work it on with patches. But you just can't do that, because you can't, do. But I think it's also about refining it. So keep refining it. So the moment you become confident, okay, I'm okay with 97% risk, I'm okay with taking that risk, go ahead, put it out, then refine it. And
yeah.
over a period of time, I think that 2 to 3% is usually we'll have to take it.
Usually there, yes.
Yeah, right.
While we were drafting the SOWs in the earlier days, we used to say there will be a margin of 10 to 15% of scope creep. So that
Yes.
is there, and we always used to factor that, saying that you would have agreed on something, but the scope creep will come, and every implementation will have some gaps. So that's how I think what we are
Yeah.
trying to look at today, right?
Yeah.
Now, how do we help them hold transition tension between ship fast and safely, right? So when AI touches customer data or critical workflows, man, because you cannot have everything done on speed, and then what we spoke about, Microsoft releasing that and then working on it. So this case is little reverse. If I do ship fast, I think we are getting into trouble here. Your take on
Yes. So I think, one of the key things, especially when you're handling customer data, which is proprietary,
it?
ship fast is not usually the answer.
Okay.
Right, shift fast is not the answer. And while we like agility, and we say that every month you do, how many enterprises go and change their
No.
systems every month? No, right? Enterprises takes 8 to 9 months even today to change their base systems, right? So I would say shift fast
On
is
the,
not the thing, right?
on the
It's about,
banking side is much more delay. I think they will not come back immediately. They'll take. You are saying 8 to 9 months. The banking will say at least 2 years is what I will shift the system. So
correct,
that
correct.
I'll
I,
leave
th-
there.
I think we need to recognize that enterprises have their own compliances mechanism, their own you know things that they have to do, whether it is HIPAA, whether it is, there's so many compliances so they don't want to just move systems just like that, right? So shift fast. Who are we going to pleasing in term of shipping fast, right? I think it's about what you ship reliably,
Yeah.
right? That matters more, because even if you ship fast and you're not reliable, no one's going to use it. It's not going to be helpful. Having said that, you cannot be delaying all and all. So I think you have to find the optimum balance, right?
Yeah.
And that's why how much risk you want to take and then ship it, right? And sometimes some of the, like, health, right, and insurance are very, very particular about their data being right. Um, so they do multiple rounds, right? And their risk taking capacity is probably lower because it's a health data, it's PI data. So yes, you need to be much more careful there, and your risk appetite becomes lower. But then typical business process workflows can take that much of risk. So I would say it depends upon the domain, it depends upon the industry, the data that we are dealing with, right? So ship fast is not the answer, is what I would say. It looks good on paper. I know 8 years, 9 years back, we said, oh, we'll do every monthly releases.
Yeah.
And then we did some kind of survey and said, why customers are not using? And then we realized they are 5 year back releases. So they have actually not made use of whatever new things we have done in last 5 years. And that's like, why are we shipping so many if it is not being used? Right. So I think ship fast is not the answer. While it makes the organization looks good. Oh, you're doing something new, you're doing something. But I think ship something which is impactful, which will move the needle, right? And in AI era, it becomes much more, much.
Now, and with the current regulations and rules coming in, and you need to look at security as a first parameter. You have to make it by
Absolutely.
default or by design. So that's the structure that we are coming in, where we
Absolutely.
cannot ship
Absolutely.
anything just like that, right? So
Absolutely.
one
And
last
yeah,
question that I have for the day, because there are a lot of comments coming in. We'll go into the comments thing there. I'll take another two questions. What's one coaching question every CTO or the head of engineering or the leadership should ask their teams before shipping any AI features?
I would say the leaders need to really ask, how is this AI feature that I'm putting going to help the business? Okay. One very simple thing, right? So I'm shipping an aviator feature. How does it help a SOC analyst?
Hmm.
Is it going to make his life easy or her life easy? Can you have any other layman come and do SOC analyst work? If the answer is yes, ship it. If the answer is no, you need to wait for it. Right. So any AI feature is, how is it going to help my end customer or help my customers make better decision, right? Or optimize things for them. So it's not just decision, right? How is the overall business? How does it could be efficiencies? It could be just about creating a lean and a mean system. It could be about taking out the waste from the system. It's all about how do you do. See, we're talking about AI because we believe AI is going to help us with that, right? And if the answer is yes, then do it. If the answer is
Yeah,
no, it's not a fancy thing, right?
true.
Yeah.
I think
So
what you are saying is draw your experience leading to software teams and sprints, deadlines, stakeholders, pressures, show them they understand what they are and build reality, just not on theory, but bring those reality into actual things, what is happening and how it can, one way it can benefit, but if it firebacks, what is the option that we have? So that's
yeah.
the thing that I think what you are
So
saying is,
supreme. So the fireback happens when the business doesn't benefit from it,
yeah, right.
right? So I think the moment you say, is it helping my customer, and that's where you need to don the business
Mm,
hat, right? And especially the product managers, I would really, drill some of the product managers into question: is it really helping, right? If the answer is yes, go ahead, do
go
it.
ahead.
If the answer is no, no, we're not doing it. Right.
Ma'am, one last question before, what the pointer that you are saying is high trust AI isn't about saying yes or no, is what you are saying, right? So that's the point, right? Now coming to the last point that I want to ask for today's is, what does trust by design look like when a combination of AI, cybersecurity, and board level governances look at? So your take on it.
It's a very deep rooted question, right? Having said that, anything that we do, right, cybersecurity, boardrooms, if trust is not there, nothing works, even in personal relation, right?
Yeah,
How do we trust one board leader to another board leader? How do we trust our systems? Do we trust our LLMs, right? I think I think this is where, from starting from boardroom, right? I think the trust needs to be established very, very clearly, right? Not just with personal relation, but also with the systems. And that's why, how do we put checks and balances in the systems, to make sure we get those trust? Because the trust, if we are not designing it by, for trust, we will not get the confidence. And there will be low adoption, right? See, today, if you ask me, we could have done much better in AI, but then why we couldn't? Because the trust was not there, the confidence was low on a lot of systems. So that's why the adoption only could be so much, right? If you have to go to 90% adoption rate, the trust has to be totally 100%,
right.
right? So I think that's why it has to be by design built into, and leaders have to consciously do it. So if you look at, like, it starts with me. It starts with me. It starts with each and every conversation that I have with my own
Team.
teams, with my own leaders, with my stakeholders, right? It starts with that. Why are we doing what we are doing, right? And if we put AI into this, it's all cybersecurity. Okay, but why do we need AI? How does it help us? How does it help business? I think we need to ask those questions, and through those questions, layer by layer, like it's about peeling onion, right? One question and then another
One
question and another question.
true,
You
true.
start getting clarity, and then you come up with like, okay, this is the way forward, right? Absolutely, absolutely.
I think what the message I'm getting is it's AI era. The governance is not just putting a brake to it, right? And I think
Oh no, no, it's
it is
absolutely
going to be a steering wheel where we drive strategy, growth, and culture where it is adopted, with security being the primary focus around it. So, with that, I would like to bring up some of the questions that are there in the comment box, and
sure.
I'll go through them. Give me a second. So, first, I see. I brought this question here. Kanchan Divedi retired says, Ashu, how do leaders mitigate Herculean of in AI environment?
This is a very, 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 models hallucinating has been a big and
Hallucinating, sorry.
yeah. So, and why do we say models hallucinate, right? Because the data they get and the algorithms that they have, they don't really work together, and then you see hallucination. And this is where, as leaders, we really need to be very, very clear about what data we are doing and what is the algorithm that we are putting, what is the context, and what do we want to do with the context, right? So I'm going one step behind, right? And if you're able to have clarity on that and then get corresponding data and corresponding model, then we could mitigate this hallucination. Otherwise, you just go and try to put plug and play kind of model and plug and play one data set, you will get hallucination, right? So the clarity of what you want to do, right? What is the context that you want to operate in, and what kind of a data you want to do, and then go and just search for those kind of model and the engine, right? The AI engine. Then you will reduce your hallucination. Otherwise, you just randomly start doing things, you land up in a lot of hallucination. Having said that, I would say, even when you've done your due diligence, there would be still few hallucination, and you have to fine tune those.
Yeah,
All right, you have to fine tune those.
I think next question is again from good observation. Should leaders need to go beyond plain implementation but actual adoption by colleagues? So I think,
This is a culture question, right? Like Kanchan, this is a culture question, and I think I'm doing it right now as I speaking. I'm doing it in my organization, and I think we start with small teams doing things where implementation has happened, and then practically what I'm doing is each team who has done this, we're going and talking about it, and we are having a brainstorming session, and this is happening almost like last 2 months. We are doing every 3 days in a week. Um, People are coming and talking about what they have found, how they've benefited, what are the cons. So we talk about both plus and minuses, right? And that sparks kind of a conversation with the other colleagues. Oh, okay, they have done it. It's not a rocket science. So one of the things that gets into people's mind is, right, adoption is, it's not rocket science, right?
yeah,
It's not a rocket science. It's something that we can do it, right? They can do it. It's something that they can adopt it, right? So I think as leaders, we will have to take them through that journey. So they, in your teams, you will have few people who would be taking the lead, doing everything. There will be few people who are just observing what's happening, and should I do, should I not? They're on the fence. And there are people who are also laggers, saying that, okay, let everything become smooth, then I will.
yeah,
and,
right.
and I think as leaders, we will need to get all three of them on the same board, right? And the way that I'm trying to do it is, have people come and talk about it in forums and have a conversation about it.
Yeah,
Then, so you had like 5 people do it, they come talk about it, they're going and talking to 50 people about it,
yeah,
right? Those 50 people are going and talking to 200 people about it,
it's true.
right? And it takes time. It is not like one day it happens, right? So we're doing this thing for last 2 months, right? And the adoption has increased. So I think you need to understand what's motivating them to slow down, and then take them through the whole path, and then you will see the adoption.
I think from the start of the IT side, IT industry itself, it's always been what is in for me, right? So first part is I'll see what do I get out of it. Then should I adopt it or not? What are the pitfalls? Where should I avoid? That
Mm.
strategy of understanding also becomes one pointer. I see Lakshmi has joined the show and she's put a question here. Lakshmi, thanks for joining us. And this is the lady who was talking about
Mm.
bringing multi gen teams together, right? So that's the ma'am. Thank you for joining. Good discussion on cultural change with multi gen. So the rate of change that we see are seeing today. So she's just put a comment saying that it's
Mhm.
the point is that we are talking in terms of multi gen, and the point that we spoke is what I think. Next question is I have Kapil saying that completely agree with your perspective and need to evolve with changing world. Embracing changing is essential to stay ahead of the curve rather than viewing it as a challenge. In the context of effective change management becomes critical. So very valid point. Ashwam, you want to add something here, ma'am?
No, I think one of the key changes that I see with AI is like the leader also is on the same boat.
Yeah,
So it's not just we are not like being the enabler. We are also a part of it,
part of it. True.
right? So I would say that's a critical part of it. So I'm in this change, we are not separate.
Yeah.
We're all in together. We're all learning it together. We're all trying to make sense what's happening where. And I think that gives a lot of confidence to everyone in the team, saying that yeah, it's not just they who are getting impacted, right? It's everyone. And when I say everyone, it's not just me, it's my three levels down, three levels up, CEO, everyone,
True.
right? So I would say that's the biggest change that I'm seeing, that each and every professional is impacted, right?
And we have Padmini saying that Gen Z is tech savvy but experience is poor. So I think she has a pointer to here. Thank you, Padmini, for joining. And ma'am, to you, Ashma.
No, sir, I agree, and I think this is where I talked in the context of multi generational workforce, right? There are new ideas, but then the moment the rubber hits, we all have seen it, right? When the rubber hits the road, that's when you actually see the problems, right?
Yeah.
And this is where, as leaders, we need to have the experienced people and the Gen Z come together and appreciate each and other's point of perspective and make sure we are taking care of those, right? We don't need to get Gen Z, okay, you don't understand this, it's not about not understanding, it is okay, this could also happen, how do we mitigate that, right? And while we say that, I can tell you a lot of things which was done traditionally is changing.
Hmm.
How you used to do development in traditional with an AI is changing. How do
Change.
you do testing in the traditional software development vis-a-vis when we are using LLMs and models is changing, right? So yes, people have expertise, but then does it really, so I'll give you an example. We were doing this whole AI feature and we started to test and we said, we need so many time, you have so much more time for testing. And I asked why. And I said, no, this is not traditional. I said, okay, if this is not traditional, have you thought about how we want to do it? We got 10 people to brainstorm it and we said, okay, now this is a testing strategy for how you want to, do your AI systems, right? And how do you want to test your data sets, right? How you so we recently open sourced a data phishing data set, right? How do you make sure that is proper? So there was a lot of different testing things. So AI things are changing.
Hmm.
So the same expertise may not help, but then listening from them and making sure you understand what Gen Z has to say, combining that helped. In fact, the program that I'm talking about, there are only two senior people and five are all Gen Zs,
Okay.
right? So i think as leaders our job is really to make the best out of both the expertise, right?
True.
They bring different values to the table. I think we want to make sure we get both the values and combine the best for the project.
There is Varaprasad saying there is always two-way exchange of learning between mentor and mentee. Only few
But
people
yes,
openly acknowledge it is, while others say quiet and accept it and move on. So I think very valid point because
absolutely.
Very valid.
Absolutely. There's a
Uh,
lot of reverse mentoring happening, I think while mentees get, I think the mentors themselves have a very enriching experience. And I've not heard this just from few people across the board, across the board. Right.
I have one and last thing that I see is Kanchan says, "Thank you, Ashan. It has been a good session." So thank you, Kanchan. Thank you for posting your questions, and and I want to give a takeaway on what we have done in the last 1 hour. Man. So the trust is the real infrastructure of AI, is what we are talking about, and
Absolutely.
without psychological safety and governance, even the best tools will stall and backfire. That's what we are talking about. Coaching style leadership is a new operating system for CXOs, right? So
Oh, yes,
you've been talking
absolutely.
on who want AI to scale responsibly according to technology, cybersecurity, strategy, and the growth side, because they want to see all the phases looking at growth, strategy, technology, and security. Look at metrics matter, high alert, high trust. AI leadership shows up in adoption, engagement, decision making, velocity, resilience, and risk reduction, not only saying cost saving, right? So that's what I think we're done. And across globe cross function collaboration is non-negotiable today, right? And everybody has to have that cross collaboration going on, right? And boards also look at tech, HR, businesses, risk, and co-own the AI value and trust. So that's the pointers that I have taken, ma'am. With this, I think we are on top of the hour, and like to conclude the session. Any final pointers you want to add, ma'am? And before we conclude,
I would say, start playing with AI. It's fun. It's fun, right? And whether we like it or not, uh, AI is here to help us. So look at it as not about replacing us, but more about how can we use AI to get maximum, more things. And I would look at, the way, it's going to be always human and AI now. So look
yeah,
at it, AI as one of your team member. Look at AI as one of, another um, person that you are getting insights from. So AI is here to stay, and the sooner we learn how to use and benefit from AI, I think the better it's going to be for the business. So yeah,
mm,
and trust is all around. So without trust, AI will not help, right? So
I think yeah. To summarize what you said is, you said look working with AI. No, agentic AI is saying that only an agent next sitting next to you can tell. You
yes,
cannot figure out whether that's an agent or a human doing your work. So that's the way
exactly.
we need to adopt, is what I'm saying. Ma'am,
Yeah.
thank you for being here, ma'am. It's a great pleasure having you again on the session. Thank you for your time, and good day, and bye for now, ma'am.
Thanks, Prem, and thanks everyone for joining in.